10-7 to 4-2. Collingwood to play the winner of this, Michael Malthouse, the coach of Collingwood, working with Matty Lloyd there in the SEN box. And that's the Collingwood camp with their coaching staff. Scotty Waters there. You can see next to him Nick Maxwell, their captain, Nathan Buckley, and Harry O'Brien. And Bucks has turned back the clock because he's joined us for the halftime show. Great to have you in, Bucks. The coffee's still pretty good in here, isn't it?
Yeah, mate. Looking forward to a cup of tea and a biscuit after this.
No shit in the air in the super box, you blokes. You look after yourselves.
We have got looked after. It's a little bit more privacy in there, and get out of the game what we need to.
Talk to us about Geelong's ball movement, guys. It's been pretty easy at times, hasn't it? Have you been impressed, Nathan?
This is where I come in, Tom. It's you, mate.
No, you go ahead. It's watching Geelong, they've played the game on their terms. I think that's the obvious thing. They've been able to set their own structures up, starting across halfback. Milburn and Scarlett have been allowed to play on their own terms, as we mentioned. Joel Corey and right are the other two that are racking up plenty of the possession.
It seemed early that Fremantle were really trying to roll numbers behind the ball and stopped from getting scored against, and that they didn't really have a forward structure there in the first quarter, and Geelong defenders enjoyed that. In the second quarter, Fremantle started 6 forwards forward of the ball and looked like it worked okay for them, but just squared the ledger.
I think with Sandilands starting as a forward really threw the whole structure out for Fremantle. They looked unsure when they went forward. They blazed on a few occasions, but Sandilands actually wasn't there. So it sort of set the tone for the night.
It's one thing for the big fella to go there when he's been in the game through rucking, but to actually start there, it's very different, isn't it? When you're playing as a permanent forward as opposed to just a few minutes there off ruck duties.
It was obviously a risk to play him tonight. We know that he hurt himself last week, but we did get a surprise when he lined up forward pocket, didn't we?
No doubt, and I think Lee and I were talking off air. I mean, that you're probably got to work out, are you better off with a 50% fit, because he doesn't look much better than that, Sandilands or the next best, which is probably Kepler Bradley, who was in the emergencies, but he has really struggled to get around the ground. He's even struggling to walk.
It's interesting because they did make a late change, and Headland hasn't worked because he's injured too by the look of it. Bradley, retrospectively, might have been a very good choice to go in because he travelled over with them.
Yeah. Seemed the really obvious one from my opinion. I think he hasn't worked it. It looks exceptionally ginger on the follow-up at the ground level too, so that's been a mistake, I guess, from Fremantle's point of view. So
much to do. Bucks, you used to be the expert of the freeze cam, but I'm going to handball this one to Lee tonight. You're going to look at Docker's options going forward, Lee?
Well, this was early in the game. Geelong, of course, kicked the first goal, and young Robertson had the set kick on the half-forward flank here. Now, the low-risk option is to drop it deep to, say, Sandlands, 15 metres out from goal. The high-risk option is to try and go into the centre corridor, because if Geelong get it, they've got all the space to attack through the centre corridor. The young fella, as we see, and will roll the play, decides to go into the middle. There's a lot of Geelong players there. We can see the vision. He goes in the middle. Has to be a really good kick. See what's going on. We just see these are the things that players have to be aware of before they actually execute the decision. Ball was turned over. Now we can see what was set up. The high risk meant that if you didn't make the kick, you're in trouble, as the Geelong players just streamed forward. So it was really, he went the high risk option and paid for it.
From an opposition's point of view, they really need to be aware of the game style of Geelong, and that's obviously owning the corridor, and to turn the ball over at centre half back like that is just fraught with danger. And Geelong gained ascendancy really early in the game on the back of a Fremantle turnover at centre half forward.
You miss freeze cam, Buck?
I do, but you do see the game well by it. I think Geelong are a great team. They make you use the ball into areas that you don't want to, and that's where they're so good on the counter attack.
And Bucks, you look after the Collingwood 40 line. The Geelong's aerial defence tonight. I mean, they struggled last week. St Kilda got 16 marks against them in the first half.
Yeah.
But I think Fremantle got 3 late in the second quarter, but they were in complete control when the ball went in there. So that means just don't kick the ball long and high in there.
No, not when you've got a numbers disadvantage at worst. I mean, I think Geelong have won the structural battle against Fremantle. They're stronger bodies, and we were concerned about a weight of possession through the midfield, but Geelong probably haven't had to win that battle too much, because they've won the structural battle. They really have been able to control the ball when they've had it and get it back off Fremantle when they haven't.
Lonergan and Corey in there. They're the 2 extra defence tenders from last week.
Well, I think Geelong go fairly deep as far as centre-back players. I mean, Corey is legitimately a winger or a midfielder and has played half-back quite a bit. Kelly does it as well, Bartel at times, but they definitely have a lot of flexibility.
Nathan, we'll go down to the Geelong rooms and hear from Bomber Thompson with Richo. will be important pods here. Just on injuries, Bucks, just while we've got you, Wellingham and Presti, I mean, what's their situation going forward?
Well, Sherrod wasn't great initially. It looked like he was in all sorts of trouble. If we had to play this weekend, he would have been touch and go. But with the 2-week preparation for next week, gave him the opportunity to recover and rest up, and he'll train early next week to prove his fitness. Presti has trained the last 2 sessions and is starting to get over his injury and will press as well.
Terrific. Thanks for your time tonight, mate. Look forward to seeing you next Friday night.